welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm Wendy Yi.
I'm Chris Yi.
And today we are serving up some... Oh, I already forgot that Mike was here.
I'm the disembodied voice, Mike DiLisio. Hey.
Where are we starting? All right, I'm kidding. All right.
Oh, I had such a fun, quirky line. We're serving up some delicious... I don't even remember what it was now.
So quirky.
Yeah,
Mike,
yep.
You're here.
I am here, yes. I'm here and I'm there through the magic of technology.
I do love technology.
Mm-hmm. We basically have teleportation now.
Yeah. Oh. When teleportation does get invented, I am not going to be an early adopter. I'm going to wait till Gen 4, I think.
Yeah.
What was it in Willy Wonka? Was it TV vision? It wasn't teleportation. It was TV portation or something.
Yeah.
Where they make the candy bar, the giant candy bar tiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mike TV gets sent over. He gets all shrunking, and he has to get, pulled to the laugh. Hey, everybody, we have a couple of cool things coming up. First off, we want to say thank you to some of our Kickstarter backers who have been supporting us over this last year. Mike, please take it away.
Oh, take it away, I shall, Chris. All right, so we want to give a shout out to Loopy. Hey, Loopy, thanks for everything. To Matthew Gosselin, to Conrad, to the Wallace family, Jason, Vanessa, Reagan, and Oliver. Don't forget Oliver. To Trusty Turtle.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Trusty Turtle, yes. To Linda and Michelle Tracy. To the new board order. That's 5 news. And
What's
finally,
the new board order?
Yeah, that's very, very new. And then we've got Tim Simonetz. So thank you for your support. We definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Trusty Turtle, I believe, was an associate of Mighty Mouse. Was he not, Mike?
Well, that's leading into some dangerous territory. Trusty Turtle liked to say that he was part of the Mighty Mouse ensemble, but that never was actually true. Mighty Mouse never officially regarded Trusty Turtle as part of the troupe. It got really messy towards the end, by the way.
Oh, so he was kind of off-brand?
It was, yeah. Well, again, I'm afraid of saying too much because there could be repercussions. I'll put it right there.
Well, I'm sorry to bring up a tender subject, but I will say that speaking of Kickstarter, so we'll thank all those who have backed and support at that level there. But for all of the other folks, the first shipments of our Kickstarter fulfillment are out the gate. And so you'll be getting updates and stuff, or you should be seeing yours coming through here in the next little bit.
Mm-hmm. We also have this week coming up some good stuff. So we have top 10 games for video gamers. We also have, Tom is going to do a small announcement later on this week. So surprises there. And then finally, we have 2 live plays. Today we have Avalon, and then on Friday we have Tend.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of good stuff coming. And if you want to game with us in person, Dice Tower East registration is opening up this coming Monday. Today is not Monday. I just remembered, of course. So
it's not today. It's in a week minus 1 day.
Yeah. 6 days from now, some might say. So there you go, folks. That's some good stuff coming your way shortly here. I'm excited for y'all to hear about that small announcement. Small, but cool. But you know what we're going to do is we're going to kick it off with some eye catchers. Wendy points out,
we forgot grip mats.
Yeah, we are. Every Board Game Breakfast is sponsored by Grip Mat, so let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. This show is sponsored by Grip Mat. These custom playmats come in regular texture or with their custom grip surface, so cards, tiles, chits, and miniatures won't slide around during your games. Make setup a breeze, upgrade your play experience, or just beautify your table with a Grip Mat. Check out their Etsy store to see their huge selection of custom playmats for many of the best games on the market. All right, and so thanks for catching that. Yeah, no, we have been thoroughly enjoying a Grip Mat. We use one on our table at home because they have like the large generic ones, and then they also have like the game-specific ones.
Ours is this really nice purple, like dark purple and a slightly lighter purple. like two-tone thing going on. It's really pretty.
Has like a poker table kind of motif
Yeah.
to it. But we should be getting a few more in that we get to show off here shortly. And with that, we're going to cut over to some eye catchers. So Wendy, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
All right, my first eye catcher is Edge of the Realm. So this is a Phil Walker Harding game. Everybody, guessed that I would like it probably. This is interesting because it's specifically Dungeons and Dragons themed, but also I don't know how much that theme is really brought into it. There's very little that we can see on BGG. And in fact, I think you had another picture, Chris, that actually showed the board a little bit. There we go, that one. So this is giving me Explorations vibe, which is a previous Phil Walker Harding roll and write game. But this is a drafting game, so it is going to be simultaneous play, simultaneous drafting, and you're trying to meet certain objectives. So you're going to have these cards that are thematically tied into Dungeons and Dragons with flavor text. But other than that, you're mostly just meeting objectives. Have you gone to the 4 wizard towers and marked them?
No. A wealthy merchant, a wizard hires you to find safe passage for his apprentice. Explore 4 wizard towers.
You kind of sounded a little bit like a Bill and Ted, offshoot character there. I don't know. It was exactly British. It was more kind of like, so, dude, you find. So when I was putting together the news, I saw this, and obviously that was the first time I had heard of it. But then, a lot of people had been mentioning that, it looks a little bit like this and a little bit like that. So I wonder if he kind of took some elements of a couple of his games and put them together, in the D&D universe.
Yeah, it gives me almost Kingdom Builder vibes too, where you're trying to make specific connections. So I'm very curious how it's going to turn out. And honestly, this also reminds me of Lords of Waterdeep, which takes place in the D&D universe as well. And early on in our gaming experience, Chris and I played a lot of Lords of Waterdeep, and they were just orange cubes and black cubes, and you know what I mean? Like we didn't feel the theme because we didn't know the theme, but it was such a good game that we enjoyed it anyways. And so my hope with this is that if you know D&D, you can get into theme, but also if you don't, it's just a cool game. That's my hope.
You're just finding the 4 wizard towers.
Yes. I want all the wizard towers.
Yeah, it's a little smaller than I was expecting. I think it's just a card drafting game.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it?
All right,
All
Mike,
right.
What's been your eye catcher this week?
All right, for my eye catcher this week, I'm going to be talking about a game that's on GameFound right now called Onoda, and that's coming from Salt and Pepper Games, and that was one of the first things that got my attention. It's a solo-only game from Salt and Pepper, and they have done some really splendid ones here in the recent past, Resist and Witchcraft and things along those lines. And this is a historically themed game, and the theme is a little bit, let's just say, slightly controversial, and because it's based on the historical figure Hiroi Onoda, who was a Japanese soldier in World War II that was, placed on this island and basically told to engage in guerrilla warfare and to never surrender. That was basically, kind of what he was told. And so the whole thing that happened was long after World War II ended, he continued to live on that island and conduct guerrilla warfare. So it's a theme that is going to have some interest to historical game fans for sure. But at its heart, it's a bag-pulling game where you are able to take as many actions as you want. You've got the island that is your board, and you're moving around the island trying to complete missions. And you're doing this by pulling chits out of a bag. And the idea is you can take as many actions as you want, but every time you take an action, you're going to be placing an alarm token at your spot, which is going to be used to make checks. And so with every action, with the exception of moving, you have to make a check. And basically, these tokens, you have to pull out a number that's higher than the number of alert tokens that's in the area that you're in. And so you're trying to repair equipment that you have. You're trying to conduct, like I said, these kind of raids. And it's just it's a fascinating topic, right? This story has been well documented throughout the years. And like I said, there's some people that say, well, he's put up as too much of as a heroic figure, and then there's other people that say, well, no, he didn't know, he couldn't have known, but it's probably more nuanced. Like almost anything else, there's probably something in between. And what I appreciate about the game is because I've had a chance to play it, is that nuance is able to occur within the scope of how the game presents it, right? He's not, cool. I don't believe he's presented as a heroic figure or as a villain. There's somewhere in between, and you can kind of get that through the game. So really interesting project, and Salt and Pepper have just done some amazing, amazing games, small box games, and this looks to be another one.
One thing that I really appreciate about these historical games is that they introduce me to historical things that I've never heard of. Like I had never heard of this guy until this game was announced. And it is a fascinating history, fascinating story. And I think that that's really cool because I'm not a big history person, and I went through school and I obviously know like the big history things that I'm supposed to know, but I don't know about this stuff. And this just creates like a realness behind some of these wars and some of these experiences that people have around the world. And it just brings light to events that I didn't know happened and I didn't know existed. And so I think it's really cool that we're seeing more and more of these war games becoming more streamlined and becoming more approachable to people.
This one looks fantastic. I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you, Mike. So yeah, I'm hoping that this is one that'll, I don't know. I'm hoping this one will speak to me the way that a lot of their other like solo games and stuff have. I love this story, this history behind it. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that in order to convince him to stop his guerrilla warfare campaign, they had to bring his superior officer out of retirement 30 years after the end of World War II. Or maybe not a full 30 years, but he had been stationed out there for over 30 years. They had to bring this guy to retirement to tell him, like, no, really, the war is over.
You've been relieved of your duties. He had to specifically relieve him of his duties.
Yeah, that's astonishing. So yeah, I think this is an amazing theme for a game, and yeah, I'm looking forward to you saying that it toes that line respectfully, really well. I mean, that's something I think that they've been doing very well with their games.
They have, of course. Everyone's mileage may vary, but yeah.
All right. Well, my eye catcher this week. I was debating between a few things, but I chose the more embarrassing option here because we're going to talk about something from the Dice Tower's own Dan Hughes. That's right. I made you a mixtape. So this is an I split you choose. Oh, whoa. Mike's involved in this? No, my eye catcher is Onoda from Salt and Pepper Game. No, this is cool. So this is you're entering kind of the last about the last 50 hours, last 48 hours or so of the campaign. So I made you a mixtape as an I Split You Choose game designed by Mr. DiLisio and Mr. Hughes. So leveraging the fact that Dan was not able to steal from his daughter this time, and so he stole from you. I believe is the way that you explained it, right, Mike?
Absolutely, yeah. He just finds his way to get a name on a box with doing absolutely nothing. I don't know how he does it. It's amazing.
It's about who you know, man.
That's it.
Works.
No, but I love it. So this is a game about splitting and choosing various cards that represent different genres, different songs, kind of that mostly 80s, early 90s kind of references, so that you can see Jump, Spice Up Your Life. So anyway, those tracks there, and then also as you are taking these, you're creating an A side and a B side, as cassette tapes back in the day did have, and then the little tracks, the little what do you call it? The ribbon of the actual tape itself. That's like you're trying to align things up and create longer chains of them, because you want more tape to be strewn out of the cassette and just spewing everywhere.
I don't think you're on board thematically quite correctly there, but that's okay, Chris. I appreciate you even mentioning it. So yeah.
Well, and that's what the pencil's for, so that you can like rewind the tape, so that you can get all that spool back in.
Yeah,
play it again.
The more rewinding, the more satisfaction you get.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, the pencil was definitely a nod to the old school way of rewinding the tape, but the cassette ribbon represents flow, Chris. And as a musician, you should understand the importance of a song flowing well from one song and into the next song. And so the cassette ribbon is a bit of an abstraction of that flow.
So speaking of flow, my dad's favorite mixtape on car rides, the entire B-side was just Axel's theme from Beverly Hills Cop, whatever, on
The Axel F
repeat
theme?
for an hour. And I
Wow.
loved it as a kid. Oh my goodness. My siblings and I, we
Man.
ate it up.
That is some dedication. Like if you're gonna just put that song on loop the entire time, that means you had to record it several times in a row, because
Yes.
this wasn't back in the day where you could just cut and paste. No, you've got to go through and take the effort and the time. I appreciate that dedication.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm sure that Jan Hammer does too, who I believe is the artist who wrote the Axel F theme.
I'm amazed you know that. Also, it did have a good fade out and fade in. So, like, the flow
That's true.
worked. It would get a little quiet
Yeah.
and then it would come back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. We in our subsequent road trips kind of recreate that as just like Wendy's childhood hurrah. You know, we'll sit there, we pull up Spotify because we're spoiled these days, and we just set it on repeat, and we'll just drive as long as we can before we finally go, all right, that was enough.
I swear it's not the same version. Like, what I find on Spotify is not what I listened to as a kid. Like, I think there was more to it.
Well, now we know
They
the
may
correct
do
artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may do radio edits and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, that's honestly is the hope. And I'm glad you brought up Spotify, because, you know, if you don't have any connection to cassette tapes, I totally get that. You know, I'm of an older vintage, shall we say. But still, the idea of putting songs together for a trip, I mean, that should be, you know, you could do that on Spotify or any number of different ways now. So we're definitely playing to the nostalgia a bit, but it's going to be a pretty small group that are nostalgic for it.
I don't know, man. Gen X nostalgia is kind of all the rage right now, isn't it?
Well, that's true. You look at the Taco Bell commercials. They're putting you back in the 90s, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I
No, I don't know about the Taco Bell commercial.
Oh,
I don't know
get
about
ready.
these, Mike.
Cheesy Gordita Crunch Box is all back in the 90s.
Oh my gosh!
Ooh.
Are they going to turn them back into like those teal and purple Taco
Yeah,
Bells?
they were definitely showing that. I don't think they're going to change them, but they were showing it in the commercial. So you
Well, they
can
used to have
YouTube it after Board Game Breakfast. I'm sure you'll find it.
They used to have the brown Taco Bells, too. Like, the previous, before
That
the
was even
neon
before.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Taco Bell right outside my house growing up, apartment, I should say. And they still had the phonetic spelling on the menu. Ta-ko, T-A-H-K-O. Yeah, so.
Oh,
Wow.
fantastic!
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness. Okay, I worked at Del Taco as a teenager, and I got quesadilla way too many times.
It's fair. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess you needed the
you
phonetic
need the
spelling.
phonetics.
All right. Well, that, folks, is our eye catchers. Let's jump to some contributors.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Maple University. Today we have Mesos.
Yes, this is a game where on every turn you're going to choose how many cards you're going to draft. There'll be top row cards, there'll be bottom row cards. You will pick a number of them based on what you've chosen and then add them to your tableau. That will give you things like food and points and bonuses and all sorts of stuff. And then you will bring your workers back in left to right order because the left-hand worker placements are weaker than on the right, and it will set your turn order for the next round.
There are limited cards above and below the tableau, your workers. So you want to get a lot of cards by placing your meeple on the right-hand side. But then if the player that goes first on the left, they get the first choice. They get the first pick of the good cards.
Yep, there are some random events or random timing on events that will trigger scorings on the different sets 3 times through the game. So you need to try to hedge your strategies around that.
I find that fascinating because, you know, the balance of what you want to get, and also the cards. You want certain cards, you want set collections for certain things, or you want to get the food card to fit the meeple, because you can get a lot of negative points if you don't fit your meeple, fit your populations.
Yeah, from my standpoint, I did find the game left me a little bit colder than I would have expected. I usually really enjoy the King Domino sort of mechanism where the weaker choice will give you the better choice next time. But I found it was a bit too easy and standard to specialize. I think most of the sets in this game really started to multiply their ways up. And so I kind of found specialization was the way to go, and then everyone kind of did their own thing.
And that's my sauce. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Hey, Board Game Breakfast, and welcome to Co-op Gestalt, a place to talk about cooperative games, cooperative game mechanisms, and sometimes solo games. This week, we're going to talk about yet another nature game, Yang, Ecosphera. This nature game distinguished itself by being a cooperative nature game from 1 to 4 players. This is basically a cooperative deck builder game, which has multi-level buying. You use elements to buy plants, and you use plants to buy animals, and use animals to buy biomes. So it's a really interesting mechanism for doing a deck building game. Now, of all the games I've played recently, this is very dependent on player count. I've found that at certain player counts, it's unplayable, and at other player counts, it's actually really fun. So the solo game, which I've played a number of times because I needed to learn it, and I keep trying to like it again, it's kind of terrible. I think I initially gave it a 4 out of 10. It's gotten a little better the more I played it, but it's still only like a 4.5. You just feel like you're playing cards and hoping you get an event, hoping you get something that works. And a 2-player game shows the hints of what this game can be. Your 2 players are playing back and forth saying, oh, you've got some cards there. Oh, I can help you with this. Oh, but there's not enough opportunities. So the 2-player game is still can't quite recommend it. But the 3 and 4-player game, that's when this game opens up. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of people with different hands. We can say, oh, I can help you, or I can help you, and you can help me. All of a sudden, this game becomes much more fun and much more cooperative. So if you're looking for a game for solo or 2-player, I can't recommend this game. But if you're looking for a really dynamic game, a dynamic nature game, I think this one works really well at 3 and 4. Just be aware, this is not a multiplayer solitaire game. This is a game where you really need to work with each other. It's very cooperative. So that's Ecosphera. I'll be curious to hear what you think of it in the comments.
All right, so the top 10 list today, the topic for this one here, I'm using the wrong controller here. The top 10 topic is the top 10 things that pique our interest in a game. Mm-hmm. So if I'm understanding what you guys were all thinking with this is kind of like you've just stumbled upon a game. You see the name and pretty much nothing else, right? And you say, what is going to make me want to spend time learning more about it, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Or you're scrolling through like the Gen Con list or the Essen list of games that are coming out, yeah.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
All right. So, kicking us off for this one is me. It's me.
Oh, it's you.
Starting with the best. No, that's not true. Anyway, so this is a collective top 10 list here. And so the number 1 spot has not been filled yet by any of us because we're not worthy. It's you, the live chat. Mm-hmm. So as you peak. Yeah, I did misspell that. I was definitely in a rush on Friday. So anyway, things that...
Peak is the top of a mountain. It's the top of our interest in the moment.
Yeah, things that pique our interest in a game.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah. So if in the chat, go ahead and throw out what makes you most interested in the game. We'll kick it off with the subpar answers. We'll say. So starting off with number 10, the weakest one of these for me, but genuinely, box size / game type. I think people know that I have a little bit of a type where I like small box card games a lot, right? We joke around a lot about trick-taking games and all that stuff, but also just games like Trio or Nana, just things like that. I love when a game comes in a small form factor, kind of just a deck of card type of a game, and there's something that makes me say, okay, so it's a small box of cards. What makes this one interesting and different? And that's usually when I start kind of reading through rule books or watching videos, playthrough videos and stuff to see what makes this one different or special.
But it's the box size. For me, it's like the opposite. Like my interest gets unpeaked by a large box size, but not particularly peaked by a small one.
What do you got there, Mike? Is that the Deep Sea Collection?
Yeah, it was at Essen this year. They packaged 2 of their games together in this little They
gift
being
box?
Link games. Yeah, and you can use it as a dice tray. So I never used to consider box sizes at all. But I'm with you on this, Chris. I think that if a box is something that is small, but the game itself actually can still be playable, you know what I mean? A lot of times they'll take. There have been some complaints about the Tiny Epic games over the years about, yeah, they barely got it in that box, but then it's too small to even really be able to see what you need to see because they're trying to cram a big box game into a small box. But games that are designed with kind of those restrictions in mind, if they're done well, they get a little more attention from me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so moving on to number 9, Wendy.
Okay, number 9. If it is beige and it has trains on the cover, I am instantly like into it. So I get a lot of flack from Tom, and in fact, Steam Power was on my top anticipated Essen list, and Tom was like, "Oh, that cover's so boring and ugly." But there's a real thing to if games have that very Euro look to them, I'm going to gravitate towards them. And it's because we have a sea of so many games out there, and many of them are just bright colors, which I think is beautiful. I love colors. I'm all about bright colors. But when it comes to having my interest piqued in a game, I'm going to immediately gravitate towards something that looks more Euro, that has that beige look, the trains, you know what I mean? All of that. Because historically, there's going to be a higher percentage of them that I'm going to enjoy and I'm going to like.
Yeah, so you know that you have a type.
Yeah, I know I have a type, and that's going to be it.
That type is beige.
Oh,
Have you played Men Nefer yet? Because that to me looks like the Euro game. Yeah, it's gray. It doesn't have any trains, but have you played that one yet?
No.
We haven't.
Do you
played
want
Nefer
to? Okay.
Yeah, Emery keeps telling us
He
that we
did say it
need
was
to.
good.
So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go. I see your train game, and I'm going to go with a unique theme for number 8. So theme in a game can't carry it, right? You can't get by on theme alone. Well, very rarely can you get by on theme alone. Sometimes you can. What's the game about trying to hold a fart in up the elevator? That one gets by on theme alone, all right? But in most cases, you need to have something with it. But I always appreciate it when a theme that doesn't get covered much, or maybe 1 in 100 type of a thing. So Chris has a picture of Sweetlands up there, which is this heavy Euro economic game. I can't stress this enough. This is a heavy economic Euro game that has these beautiful wooden fanciful components, and it's about sweets and ice cream and chocolate bunnies and all this type of stuff. Why? Does it matter? No, but I'm going to tell you, it's more appealing to me, because it has this theme I haven't seen 100 times. It probably could be a train game for all I know. But I appreciate that they're doing something different. And this isn't to talk about train games. I like train games too. Just they're a different, a specific thing. But I appreciate that. I think more and more you're starting to see some of these unique themes. We just talked about Onoda earlier. I really like that they're going in directions that you're not always seeing going down. So that at least will get my attention. The game may be trash and it doesn't go beyond that, but the theme will get my attention.
I do think that it's very cool that we're getting more interesting themes in the Eurogame side of things, in the train game side, in the heavy stuff. I do like that. And as much as I love Bayesian trains, this makes me happy too. This makes me very happy.
Right. Bayesian trains is like your comfort. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to like this. And then when something's a little more off the wall, I'm a little more hopeful. Like there's that Cretaceous Rails game, a train game about collecting dinosaurs from this map and like bring them back to your park. And I was like, I want to play dinosaurs on trains. So.
Well, that's like the Australia, the Martin Wallace game. That's 100% a train game, but it also has Cthulhu,
All right, number 7 from me here. This is, I just called it kind of generally the vibe check, right?
Oh my gosh, you're so Gen Z or whatever it is now.
I'm Six Sigma, Gen Z, YOLO, yeet.
This game got Riz.
Yes. As I put up a picture of Root here, because it's one of those where it's not just one single aspect of the game, right? But just upon just kind of seeing Root, and be like, okay, war game, woodland critters, Kyle Farron, amazing art. Just something about that whole general thing made me say, well, no matter what, I'm going to play this. Right? I'm going to look into it. I'm going to learn it more. I'm going to play this because there's no way that this game is going to pass by my gaze without me exploring it more. And there's just something fun about that. You could
And then I'm going to buy a T-shirt from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wore my Kyle Farron shirt yesterday. But like, and this is actually quite similar to the last thing with Sweetlands, right? That it's not just cool theme, but just kind of the whole vibe of it. Like, I'm interested because it seems like an interesting juxtaposition. Cute chocolate bunnies and land of sweets with like a Gaia Project level game, or in the case of Root, this like cutthroat war game with like the cutest little woodland critters you ever did see. So I love that. Anyway, just the general vibe check is my number 7.
I like that, and I think that Root is a good example of it.
I think that art is in the kitchen and it is cooking. Cooking.
Wow.
I don't think they say cooking. I think the Gen Z says
Cooking.
cooking.
Do they do the like very guttural cooking?
Yeah. Mhm.
They're all about the hard consonants. Gen Z, there's nothing but hard consonants for them.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Wendy, you're up
All
next.
right, what's next? Oh, yes. Recommendations from people. So this is a huge thing for me is I'm one of those people that I don't necessarily love the research side of board games. I just want to play games. And so if I know someone that has similar tastes or they really know my tastes well, I 100% am going to take that recommendation. You know, Emery is someone that we have a lot in common in gaming. So if Emery loves a game, I'm probably going to try it. You know, and I used to say that, what was that term I was looking for? I lost it already. The art term.
Oh, the
I keep
the
wanting to
person
say
who runs an art gallery, the person who determines what
The-
piece.
Curator?
Curator, thank you. I keep wanting to say connoisseur. So for years, I would say that Chris was the curator of games for me, like my personal curator, because he would do all the research. He knew my taste so well. And so
And
it's
then
been
he let you
interesting.
down. And now you've had to look elsewhere because Chris
Yeah.
has just been so terrible as a curator. He has just completely failed you.
That's right. He likes Root. So yeah, just people with similar tastes or if they know my taste well. That's a huge thing for me to look more into a game.
Yeah, that's a good call, actually. I hadn't even considered that for this list. But the big thing that you mentioned is somebody that knows your taste. So you've got to find somebody that you trust will not lead you astray. All right. Well, number 5 is a designer. Okay. Now, no designer bats 1,000. All right. No designer bats 1,000. I think Chris put a picture of me kissing. There it is. There's the Knizia shrine right behind me. Yes, if there's a designer that has several games that I have played and enjoyed, I just think it makes sense that I'm going to be more interested when I first hear about a game by that designer. Again, nobody bats 1,000. And especially, joking about Knizia, when you put out 20,000 games, barely exaggerating, some of them are going to be bad, right? But it's going to get my attention, right? There are certain designers that will come out hot off the bat, 1 or 2 games. I'll be like, okay. Then the third one comes out. I'm like, man, that's really good. 4th, 5th. When you get to that point, you just start to feel like maybe this designer kind of has an aesthetic that works for me. They have a philosophy that works for me. And then sometimes they'll do something completely, out of what you're used to and what you like, and you'll be like, all right, well, they missed me on that one, but I'm still going to pay attention. So designer matters a lot.
Oh yeah, designer matters a ton. It's really fascinating to me how like even with Knizia games, like I'm not a Knizia fan the way that Mike is and the way Chris is.
No one is a fan the way Mike is.
Well, that's accurate. So I'm not even a fan the way Chris is. But you play enough games by the same designer and you might even find one that you like, and so that's what's been fascinating. Like I really enjoy Marshmallow Test, and that's one that I really appreciate. And honestly, the more that I play his closed auction games, the more I'm understanding them, and maybe I will like them more over time. I'll just keep trying.
Yeah. Sometimes there's also that chase, right? Mike is talking about the designer he already knows he likes, sometimes it's like a designer I wish I liked. And so the next game it's announced, I'm like, I'm going to try this one. It might be it.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Number 4 from me here. And this is I think the biggest one for me, and it outdoes designer, and this is the publisher. Publishers have a lot of say in what games get to come through them, and they get to work with, oftentimes plenty of different designers, so they can kind of be that curator. And so at this point, like Garfield Games, you know what I mean? They happen to work mostly as Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald games, but they brought in Bobby Hill. They're doing they just announced they're doing the second edition of a game called Assyria. And so that's not one that I've played. That one's from what was it, Istari Games?
2009. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is like the first kind of them pulling a game from yesteryear and then putting it underneath the Garfield umbrella. But I also trust that they're going to do really good development, that they have got a good eye, as you mentioned, Mike, a philosophy that I tend to align with. But even if it's something outside of the core, and Bobby Hill, one of their designers, is kind of becoming a little bit more of a solidified part of the Garfield Games experience. But, when he put out Hadrian's Wall for the first time, that was kind of a bold thing to have a different designer, but underneath that same publisher with the same treatment and development and all that stuff. So you just find those companies that you tend to line up with very well. And for me, that's like the biggest first sign. I'm going to look into this one more.
Because they don't just grab designers that you necessarily like, but they have the graphic design that you like. They have the theming that you like. They have the deluxe components that you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to it. I think of Roxley, and, Brass for me is where they really, like, that's where I first saw Roxley, was when Brass Birmingham came out and the new Brass Lancashire. And, they're one of those that, like, I pay attention to because they did such a good job with that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it works the other way too. When you get burned by a publisher one too many times, then they may have lost your trust. So a publisher is super important.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Sometimes you see a game that passes the vibe check. For every other reason, you're very interested, and you go, "Oh, but it's by them."
Yeah.
Awkwardly moonwalk your way.
Yeah.
All right, number 3.
All right, my number 3 is the BGG mechanisms list. So this to me is my absolute main reason why I want to look at a game. Whenever I look through big lists of games, or I'm looking for, I'm looking through the hotness on BGG, anything like that, I instantly want to look at the mechanisms list. That's the first place my brain goes, my eyes go, is are they mechanisms that I like? Because I'm 100% a mechanisms first gamer. And this is what I want to know. It could look cute. It could have a cute vibe. It could whatever. But I assume it's not going to be a great game until I see that there are mechanisms in there that I enjoy.
That's interesting. So what are like the top 2 or 3 things you're looking for? And what do you avoid? Or if you see it, you're immediately like, probably not.
Oh, no. I really enjoy economic games. I enjoy simultaneous games. I just look through the list. Like, there's just a ton on there. Like, multi-use cards is cool. I mean, you look at the ones that Chris listed. That is a lot of what I like. When it comes to stocks, like those kind of things.
The picture I put up is just the mechanisms list from Brass.
That makes sense.
Great.
That checks out.
But yeah, so I usually tend to go through and I will filter, especially when you have like a big SN list, I will filter it by a handful. I'll pick like 7 to 10 mechanisms, throw those on, and then I'll filter by popularity. And that gives me what I want, and it shows me what I'm excited about, and it shows me some of those games that I may not necessarily have seen if I had just gone through the whole big list. So I'm not interested in like battling area control stuff. I usually push that aside. I'm okay with area control, but I want a lot of other of these mechanisms in there when area control is included. So that's one that I tend to just disappear. I don't really like auctions, so I'll get rid of those. Yeah.
All right. Mike,
All right,
two.
number 2. Well, as the longer and longer you play games, you'll have things that will ebb and flow, things that will, I used to be a lot more into the heavier games and now I'm not. But the one thing that has stayed constant throughout all the time I've been gaming is that I am a shallow gamer. I wish I could remember the very first time I said that. I've been saying it for years. It's still true. The art is going to be the number one thing that gets my attention, and specifically the cover, because that's usually the first piece of art that you're interacting with. Again, if something is visually striking, that immediately is going to get me excited. And then if you go beyond the cover and the rest of the game and the components, cards, whatever the case may be, have this still type of arresting, beautiful, entrancing, whatever, words you want to use, that's going to be the number one thing that gets me excited. So I think Chris put up Unconscious Mind. And, that's taking 2 of the best artists in board gaming and fusing their talents together in a way that thematically makes sense, where you've got, the grounded artist doing the more lifelike elements, Vincent Dutray, and then you've got Andrew Bosley doing the dreamlike and kind of ethereal elements. And we are so lucky to be in a hobby where you've got some just, in my mind, world-class artists and graphic designers. And it's amazing because games are very physical, right? They're tangible. You're interacting, you're holding the pieces, you're looking at the cards. And to be able to have this close of a interaction with beautiful pieces of art, for me, is just something that really excites me. And so the art's always going to be the first thing that gets me, and then I may turn it over to the back and go, oh, because that happens every so often. You've got this beautiful cover and you look at the back and like, wow, they spent all of their art budget on that cover. So that could be a problem too. But yeah, it's art for me. Art always gets my attention first.
Mike, do you like it when they include like a book of the art so you can see it larger, or when they have like pictures to hang on the wall? Do you use that stuff?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you would think the answer is yes, but no. The only piece of board game art I have is something from Scythe, which has its own artistic controversies. But regardless, yeah. I'm not even getting into that. But I think if I had more wall space, I might do some of like the BGG ones, because I think those are beautiful art pieces and things along those lines. Honestly, like, speaking of Unconscious Mind, it came with these beautiful prints that if I had the wall space, I probably would go ahead and frame those up and put them out. But I don't tend to do that. And as far as art books go, I have a couple, and I look through them, and they're pretty cool, actually. But some I think are better than others. I'll just put it that way. Some I think are like, why are we bothering? And then other ones I'm like, okay, well, this is pretty cool to see, like, works in progress, sketches, and how they become the final image, things along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, and also, how many coffee tables can one own? They're like,
right.
I have so many of these art books from Kickstarters, like, yes. It's just everywhere. I don't. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's one of those things I wish I was into more than I actually am.
Yeah,
right. Like those Star Wars coffee table books that are like the diagrams, the breakdowns of Star Cruisers and all these different things like that. Those always sound so cool to me, but then I don't ever put them out anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is we have recliner chairs.
That's true.
You just can't have a coffee table with recliners.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right. And now the number one answer from the live chat here, Chrissy Stern. Kind of talking and riffing off a little bit of what Wendy was saying about recommendations. That's why I watch The Dice Tower.
Aw, thanks, Chrissy.
That's right.
Aw.
I am not too vain or not too
humble.
Humble, yeah. I'm not too humble to put The Dice Tower as the number one answer.
Hey, wow.
All right, folks. Yeah. Well, that is the top 10. Let's jump to some contributors, and then we'll be back with the old school game.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today, we're looking at Sonic the Hedgehog Sonic Battle. The goal of the game is to get all 7 Emerald tokens. Once you have all 7, you can go in the middle and you can fight Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman if you will. If you're able to defeat him, then you're the winner of the game. What you can do in a turn is you can follow these little white lines. You're going to move to a tile, and you will simply flip it over. Now, you will have some tiles like this that will give you a gem. Sometimes you'll see tiles like this, which are an attack tile. And if you go there, you would have to have a battle. So what you do in a battle is you're going to play a card. Preferably, you want to play one with a higher number. Then you'll draw one from the action card deck, and you'll see which one's higher. So I have a 5, he has a 1, so I would win. And that would give me a new crystal. If by chance I had lost, then I would have to give up a crystal back to the supply. Sometimes with these IPs, they kind of drive into one thing. So you're not getting, the game's not going to feel like the whole story, but you're going to get a little piece of it. So Sonic Battles is going to give you a piece of the battles, like when you're fighting people. You're moving around the board rather slowly. You only move in one space. And you're going to flip over a tile and see what it has. Sometimes it'll give you a power. Sometimes it'll give you emerald. Sometimes you will battle. And in those battles, you're going to win or lose based on the hand management of your card. Sometimes you're just not going to have the card to win, and that's going to be a bummer. The game does allow you to fight Dr. Robotnik twice, so there is some player elimination if you don't beat him twice, and your kid will be sitting out. But I think that's not only a rare circumstance, I don't think being out will last very long. But it still is something I don't like in the game. But does it feel like Sonic the Hedgehog? I guess a little bit in here. The battles isn't really, the boss battles, I guess, is in Sonic the Hedgehog. But I don't think Sonic the Hedgehog as a battle game. I think of more like a fast-moving, and you're bumping into things, and that's kind of lacking from this game a little bit. So I would probably say a 4 or 5 fitting into whether it feels like a Sonic the Hedgehog game. If you have a big Sonic the Hedgehog fan and they're young enough, then this game may be appealing to them.
Hello, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. Trivia time. Back in the 80s, Wendy's had a commercial with a very popular catchphrase. Mom, do you know what that catchphrase was?
I don't remember.
Dad? Where's the beef? That's right. Where's the Beef? Published in 1984 by Milton Bradley. This is a 2 to 4 player. This is a 2 to 4 player game in which you're trying to find all 4 beef patties first. Let me set this up and show you how it works. This is what the game board will look like set up. Everybody's going to put their pawn at an entrance space of their choice and then roll the dice. Highest roll goes first. On every turn, you're going to roll both dice and move that many spaces. You can move up, down, left, right, but not diagonally. When you move next to a chip, you're just going to flip it over and secretly look at it and then put it back down without showing anybody else. The only way to move behind the counter here, which is the brown spaces, is by finding a pass token. The object of the game is to find the beef tokens, and there's going to be 4 of them throughout the board. Once you've found the beef tokens, 3 of them will be out in the restaurant, 1 of them will be here behind the counter, and you yell out, "The beef." You've won the game. The phrase, "Where's the beef?" was said by a woman named Clara Peller. Although the Where's the Beef campaign was short-lived, it proved to be a cultural phenomenon. Well, that's all the time I have for now. If you have a comment below, or you can X them to me at Retro Board Gamer. And as always, may your rolls be high.
What we do here is go back.
All right, and now the last segment for today is going to be our old school game. Mike, why don't you kind of lead us out on the discussion here? This is, well, the shrine speaks for itself, really.
Well, yeah, and it is right there. This is Orongo. You can't really see it because it's covered by Kenizia's shrine. So Orongo is a game that came out, I couldn't even tell you the year, probably
2014.
There you go. Okay, I was thinking 2015, 2014, and from Ravensburger, and it's a game that I actually got new when it came out. It's a really interesting closed economy game, and the original game, Orongo, was themed around the Moai statues around Easter Island. Am I pronouncing that even close to correct? Do we
believe
know?
It's Moai, yeah.
Yeah, the Moai statues. And so the idea is that you are using these cowrie shells as your money, essentially, and you're bidding in a closed fist a certain amount of cowrie shells to bid on tiles that are going to be placed onto this island. And the idea is that you're trying to make connections to the outer edge of the island so that you can place one of your statues. It's a race game, essentially, where you're trying to be the first to get all of your statues out there on the board. And the game I really liked. As a matter of fact, Chris, if you look on Board Game Geek under reviews, I wrote a written review for this game the year it came out. And I was a huge fan of the game then. And but I mentioned some production issues that really has been the thing that has kind of kept this game from really going anywhere, I think, is that those cowrie shells, while cool looking and feeling, were not practical because you place them on the board and they roll all over the place. They're not really made to lay flat on a board. And then you had tiles that were really thin and hard to distinguish from just the regular spots on the board. And so the usability took a real hit and took what I think is a really solid closed economy auction game, and made it kind of unusable for a lot of people. People were trying to, take black markers to the outer edge of the tiles, and, it helped, but you shouldn't have to do that, right? You shouldn't have to do something like that. So the reason why I think we're talking about this now is that it has just come out that there is already, at least in Thailand, the Simon version of this called Nyakuza that I guess you two have already played that edition. Yeah. I haven't. And the fact that I haven't is filling me with a sort of existential dread that I can't really explain. I don't have the words for it, but hopefully I'll be playing it soon. And hopefully they addressed, it sounds like based on what you said that they addressed some of those issues. But yeah, so I'm glad more people may get a chance to play this game.
Yeah, so they have, the theme has changed, and so you're building market stalls. And so they have actual, folded pieces that stick up for your market stalls. You add little stickers to them to hold them closed. And so those are there. And then the coins are coins instead of little stuff that rolls around everywhere, which is useful. The one thing that I think is a little bit weird on the production, so they have the actual player pieces to show that you own a space, is these little see-through, they look almost like surfboards.
They're supposed to be boats. They're surfboards.
They're surfboards,
we
right?
all know.
But you're supposed to balance them on top of the little shops when you've completed the connections. And I just feel like the balancing, they're not as big as I want them to be to balance well. I feel like they almost fall in. They're a little, I feel like I'm going to knock stuff over. It's super minor.
When you say you feel like you're going to, you mean you definitely did multiple times.
I definitely did multiple times. Yeah, I was at this point where I was like, can I just stick the market stall on top of it? Like, you can still tell from underneath that it's my color. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, just do it if that's the case. Yeah, they had little transparent discs, colored discs in the original one, which also they didn't work as well as they probably should have. The blue and the green were way too close to each other, and so yeah, it is interesting. It seems like, there's been another situation with another Knizia game called Medici that it's a great auction game. And it seems to have never come out in an edition that everyone can agree is the best edition, right? There's been no 25th Century Raw edition of that game. You see what I'm getting at? Where it's like, okay, this is the best, right? So it's weird that sometimes production can hamper these good games. I haven't played the Simon one yet. Hopefully that's a minor issue, but I do look forward to trying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same in gameplay. I don't think that there were any rules changes.
I think we even looked and the map is similar. The only thing is you can't build your statues anywhere. You have to specifically build them on the shore.
Well, you always had to, but
you
they
did?
just
Okay.
Yes.
they just marked the shore spaces in a different color on this map.
Oh,
so those
so it's a
brown
little bit
hexes
better.
around, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you always had to build your statues on the outer edge of the
Okay.
island. Yeah.
Yeah. I personally just wish it was still Moai statue in, Tokyo Harbor, but
Yeah.
apparently
Yeah. I don't.
you
I don't
have,
know
Mike-
that I'm. Yeah.
Do you have a preference of theme between the two?
I was just going to say I'm not. I need to see the Simon one first to see exactly how they handle it. I've only seen pictures. I like the original theme, to be honest. So I had nothing against the theme at all, but I'm going to be. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of the new theme, to be honest with you, because as much as I like cats, I don't like just shoehorning them into a game for no reason. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to be open-minded as much as I can, and I'll know how I feel once I play it.
yeah, I just like the look of the Moai statue far more, right? The whole Rapa Nui setting and everything, and just the fact that they are wooden. What did someone in the chat say? Moai Eeples.
Wiples?
Please,
Yeah.
no, I don't know about the Moai Eagle thing. I'm not sure about that.
If Tom were in earshot, I would call them that concept.
Yeah.
But no, I think that looks better overall. But there's nothing wrong with the new one. I don't think at all. So
Cool.
yeah, so excited for you to be able to get a chance to play that one, and then you have the most experience with the original game. I will say, I did misspeak about one thing earlier when I said that no one is a bigger Knizia fan than Mr. DiLisio. Mike, I think you can agree. We're both in the Knizia enthusiast Discord, and there are people there that put you to shame.
I don't know. I'd like to see their collections, Chris. I'd like to see their collections.
All right. Folks, that's been breakfast here on this nice, not Monday morning. Here in just a few hours at noon Eastern, we're going to be jumping over to Avalon, the Riven Vale, a live play of that. Camilla's going to be leading off with that, so you get to see some of us playing. And
We're also
then-
starting the 12 games of Christmas.
World Games
Yes,
of Christmas.
today. So that's our suggestion list for you. If you're trying to find something to buy for Christmas for yourself or for someone else, here's some suggestions.
Mostly for yourself,
Yeah,
right?
you know.
We all know.
We know.
We know.
I believe today is family games, so a good list.
Yep. So that'll be going up later today. I think 3 o'clock around-ish then or so. But that'll be going all week, so keep an eye out for that. Folks, till next time, my name's Chris Yi.
I'm Wendy Yi.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
Enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.